Hey guys, today we're gonna turn this old entertainment unit I made 10 years ago and turn it into this. So you guys might be saying to yourselves, why getting rid of this entertainment unit? Obviously it was built with a DVD player, VCR player, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS2, PS3, GameCube, and room for all the controllers and an audio receiver in the middle. Why would you ever get rid of such a thing? Well, I'll tell you, because all those things are gone. I don't care for the audio receiver anymore, as this thing's probably getting a sound bar, and all we have is a switch. So it's gotta go. So this project uses less than half a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, which you see this monolith standing behind me. I've got my table saw set up to make my first big rip cut, and I have my plans right here, which you can download for free on my website, DIYbuilds.ca, if you want to build this project or any other projects I have as well for free. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all of these pieces cut out on the table saw and miter saw, and we'll meet you back here. So I've got everything pretty much cut up except for this piece right here, which needs to be still cut in half, and that will be then later turned into our rounded edges on either side. And I want to get the edge banding installed before I cut this in half, and especially before I go ahead and start making the shallow kerf cuts to make our bend, as you don't want to install the edge banding after that's all done. So for this back piece of the entertainment unit, which is going to attach directly to the wall, we need to cut out a circle shape on both sides. You see I have that side already done. So I'm just going to keep this in place by clamping it using my linear actuator tail vise here. So now that can't move on me. And I have my homemade circle cutting jig, which is just a scrap board attached to my router here. I have the center point here marked at 6 1/4 inches from the edge of the bit, not the center of the bit. Don't make that mistake twice. And I'll just mark my centers here, and we'll go ahead and cut this out in a few passes. So since this is going to be a floating entertainment unit, and I want a very clean look, what we've got to do is do something about these cables. Now you see we've got the power cable for the TV. My plan here is to take this away and install it up here behind the TV, but as well also running a new box right here, which is going to be inside the right cupboard, and that's where we're going to plug in the Nintendo Switch. Now you see we've also got the coax cable and an HDMI cable. This HDMI cable goes up through this air return duct here, through the ceiling and over to the computer, so we can broadcast from the computer to the TV. The coax cable goes up the same air return all the way into the attic onto the roof. Now these guys, I'm simply just gonna push back through here, and then I'm gonna drill a hole up there so you don't see these cables that come out behind the TV. I'm going to be removing this cold air return, which isn't a big deal because there's another one on the other side of the wall anyways, which should be more than enough cold air return for this area. So this is the back piece, which is going to hold the whole entertainment unit together and get rigidly mounted to the wall. Right here I've marked out my level line with a level, and I found my center point. I've also found my center point on this. I'm just going to place this up here, mount it to a few studs, and this way I can correctly lay out where the receptacle is going to go, somewhere around here. Because I want to go ahead and cut this out of plywood, well, it's still not built. So now I have these mounting holes which are already drilled. I know exactly where to put this when it's all finished and it goes time to mount it on the wall. Now I'm going to mark out the location for this new receptacle. So over here at the table saw, we're going to be working on the two rounded edges to either side of the console. Now, the way we're going to do this is something called kerf cutting. So at the table saw, we set our blade to just below the surface, the top layer of plywood, so leaving about a millimeter or two so it can still bend the wood, not cut all the way through, and just making pass after pass at the correct interval and spacing. Now, the way you find out this interval and spacing is there's this website online that you can put all your dimensions in, your thickness of your blade, thickness material, all that jazz, and it just spits out an exact cut sheet for you. Now, the one thing about this thing is it tells me to cut at the 0 mark, which isn't really going to work for me because I have that butted up piece on the top and bottom. So for these two pieces, I've added 1 inch to either side, and I've just simply added 25 millimeters or 1 inch to all these dimensions here. This is in metric after all, and I couldn't really find a way to change it. Now, this program is pretty sweet, pretty free, and if you want to do something like this yourself, check the link in the description for a link to this website. So let's go ahead, set our blade, start making cuts. So the way I'm going to be joining everything together is using glue and biscuits. So before I go ahead and cut the biscuit slots, I need to make sure that I mark A, B, C, and D on each corner. That way everything stays in this configuration and it's all aligned when we go to assemble it. So before we get everything put together, put our biscuits in, I want to go ahead and get these upright pieces in the middle installed. They'll get installed like this with the pocket holes facing the outside. We'll fill these after, but just to hide them a little bit more. So that piece will go there and this piece will go here. This has a little notch in the back for the HDMI cable from the switch, which will be in the middle here and then go in here. So we'll get some glue, clamp these down, mount them, but first we need to mark our 6-inch spacing. Before using the construction adhesive and gluing on the rounded corners, I want to go ahead and glue these suckers into this side first, just so there's less to worry about. Well, I can't believe it, but my dry fit actually works, and this is pretty damn cool. Anyways, now I'm going to go ahead, take the back off, drill a bunch of pocket holes so it can attach to this piece on the top and the bottom, and then we'll start our glue up. So our pocket holes are drilled. Step 1 of the glue up is going to be applying some glue to the vertical pieces. Then we're going to place this on top, flip it over, attach some 2-inch screws, 1, 2, 3 on each one, and then we'll drive in our pocket hole screws from the back. Okay, it's finally come to it, the moment of truth. Time to glue this sucker onto the main unit. Now I am using construction adhesive as it will give me a longer working time and it acts more of a gap filler than traditional wood glue. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this into each gap here, all along the edges, and just shove it on. Hopefully it works. Wish me luck. Okay, next I'm going to cut out the doors for either side of the entertainment unit, which are going to be a solid piece of oak, no raised panels or anything like that. Now I could easily mark this out and cut it out with a jigsaw and sand the edges and everything, but I have the CNC machine, so let's use it. Well, after a lengthy discussion with the Grand Master Architect, we've decided that we're going to put a semicircle in the end of each of these doors, and that's how you're going to open them. Okay, with everything sanded nice and smooth, all of our holes filled in, the next step, we're going to spray on our primer using my HVLP Wagner spray gun. I love that thing. And then over here, I've got the whole unit set up on a Lazy Susan turntable, so I can just keep spraying in this direction, as I didn't mask off the whole shop, just this side and the table. But before that, we're going to go ahead and put this dark walnut stain on the two doors, and we'll bring them outside to dry so they don't get white speckles all over them. Okay, we got 3 coats of polyurethane on the doors. It's all dry, as well as the paint on the main body here. It's looking really good. I think the last thing we need to do is go ahead and install these Euro-style hinges so the doors will sit flush with the face of the unit, or maybe even a little bit of a recess. I don't know, I'll decide in about 3 seconds. So you can see that the door hinge actually closes past 90 degrees, which leaves us with this really weird reveal right here, and that's no good. So right here, out of the way of the finger hole and kind of out of eyesight, I've got this little block of wood with a bumper on it and a slot and a screw here with a washer, and that's just going to give us some adjustability backwards and forwards to get the door to sit exactly right. So we'll just screw that in place, and that'll be our doorstop. Adjust that out a little.
I like it.